In a break with the past, the North Korean regime did not notify the International Maritime Organization of an impending missile launch. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon made headlines on his trip to Korea by implying a possible presidential bid. He's now trying to tamp down the speculation. And May 31st is Ocean Day in South Korea. We'll take you to some of the events being held in Suncheon Jeollanam-do Province. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Tuesday, May 31st. I'm Luke Clary. In a break with the past, the North Korean regime did not notify the International Maritime Organization of an impending missile launch, as it is required to as a member. Here's more.
North Korea notified the London-based International Maritime Organization of its plan to launch the Gwanmyeong-seong Observatory satellite in February this year. It was a caution for sailing ships against potential hazards along their routes, which might be caused by objects falling from the sky when the North fired a projectile. Giving advanced notification is an obligation for North Korea as an IMO member. An IMO official said that the regime has yet to give any notice with regard to its plans for a missile launch. The Geneva-headquartered International Telecommunication Union also said that it has received no such notifications from North Korea. But the union added that the issue of firing a ballistic missile, not a satellite, is beyond its jurisdiction. In fact, the North did not notify the IMO and other international agencies in advance of its launch of 3 Musudan missiles on April 15th and the 29th. Analysts say there is a growing possibility that the projectile the North is now moving to fire is a ballistic missile.
President Park Geun-hye has arrived in Kenya, the last stop on her 3-nation tour of Africa before she makes her way to France. She held a bilateral summit with Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday.
President Park Geun-hye arrived in Nairobi, Kenya, the last country on her state visit to 3 African nations. Kenya is an East African transportation and logistics hub and Korea's largest trading partner in Africa. President Park's visit takes place 34 years after the last one by a Korean head of state and is only the second state visit since the 2 countries formed diplomatic ties in 1964. Upon arriving at the Kenyan capital, President Park met with Korean expats and encouraged their efforts in the African nation. She then held a summit with her Kenyan counterpart Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday afternoon and discussed ways to strengthen bilateral relations. As Kenya is a gateway to the vast East African market, the 2 leaders focused on how to expand economic cooperation between the 2 countries. In addition, President Park requested Kenya's assistance in dealing with regional issues such as North Korea's nuclear ambitions. In an article she wrote for a leading Kenyan daily, President Park stressed the importance of working together in the IT sector, which the 2 countries are striving to nurture, and expressed her hopes for Kenya's Vision 2030 project to provide a new turning point in bilateral cooperation.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon left South Korea Monday night after wrapping up his 6-day stay in his home country. During his visit, Ban made headlines by implying a possible presidential bid. However, he later tried to tone down the speculation. Here's more.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon held a news conference and sought to explain his remarks and activities during his visit to South Korea. Regarding his remarks that he would decide on his role as a South Korean citizen once his tenure as head of the UN ends, Ban said that he was embarrassed by the comments being interpreted as an implication of a possible presidential bid. He added that the remarks made at a closed meeting were somewhat exaggerated. He asked for no more speculations about his remarks and activities, saying that the latest visit to South Korea had no political purposes. He said that he himself would decide on what to do next, as he is the person who knows best about his own affairs. Political observers say that the UN chief sought to tone down his comments, which triggered greater repercussions than expected. Han left for New York Monday night after wrapping up his busy schedule on the last day of his stay in South Korea, including a meeting with Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-an. It appears that the UN head will likely distance himself from South Korean political circles for now. However, analysts say that he is expected to be a key figure in the nation's presidential race next year.
South Korea is looking ahead to boost cooperation in desalination projects and medical technology transfer with the country's key Middle Eastern partner, the United Arab Emirates.
The oil-rich United Arab Emirates is looking to diversify its industries in preparation for the post-oil era. Economic policy chiefs of Korea and the UAE met at the 5th Korea-UAE Joint Economic Committee, the first to be held in 2 years. Amid the struggling global economy, the two countries agreed at the meeting to further promote bilateral partnership by expanding economic cooperation projects. The two sides decided to strengthen cooperation in water resources projects, such as the joint study of desalination technology, which the UAE is greatly interested in.
نحن نبدي بالغ اهتمامنا بالاستفادة من المركز المتقدم عالميا لكوريا الجنوبية في مجالات التكنولوجيا الحديثة والصناعة والابتكار.
A team of Korean patent specialists will also be dispatched to stabilize the patent information system that the UAE imported from Korea. The two countries will also work together to extend the visa waiver period from the current 30 days to 90 days in order to provide Korean businesses with a better working environment in the UAE. Additionally, Korean medical personnel are to be sent to the UAE to share Korea's advanced medical technologies.
May 31st is Ocean Day in South Korea. The day was designated to raise awareness about the importance of the sea and maritime environment. We'll take you to some of the events to mark the 21st Ocean Day being held in Suncheon, Gyeongsangbuk-do Province.
Suncheon Bay is South Korea's largest habitat of reeds. The color of the reed fields has grown deep green. It has become a famous tourist destination, attracting some 5 million tourists a year. By creating the double benefits of boosting the local economy and preserving maritime resources such as reed fields and mudflats, the project is seen as a representative model of future-oriented programs to utilize the sea. In the past, Ocean Day celebrations were held in major port cities such as Busan and Incheon. The Suncheon Bay Garden has been selected as the venue for this year's celebration in a bid to highlight the importance of efforts to preserve coastal areas like mudflats. Among South Korean coastal wetlands, the Suncheon Bay became the first to be registered with the Ramsar Convention on wetlands in 2006. Some 230 species of migratory birds, including rare species like hooded cranes, visit the Suncheon Bay wetland each year. A project launched this year to turn reclaimed land into mudflats again in order to protect the biodiversity in the region. The Cultural Heritage Administration and local governments are seeking to add them to the UNESCO list of World Natural Heritage in a bid to promote the value of mudflats along the nation's southwestern coast. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries will designate this week as the Week of Oceans. It will hold various events nationwide, including a campaign to collect garbage from beaches.
A study by a Korean research team found that cacao polyphenols, the main compound in chocolate, actually helps keep the skin healthy. Researchers advise, however, that commercially sold chocolates contain too much sugar or artificial coloring, and that consumers must double-check the polyphenol contents in their chocolate to see tangible effects.
A Korean research team has been studying the effects of chocolate on the improvement of skin condition. First, a clinical test was conducted on lab mice. These are images of mice fed with cacao for 8 weeks. Even to the naked eye, it's clear that the mice that were fed cacao have less wrinkly backs than the ones that were not. Another test had some 30 women drink beverages containing cacao polyphenol extract for 6 months. Compared to the control group of women who did not drink the beverage, the tested subjects saw their wrinkles reduced by about 9% and skin elasticity increased by more than 8%. A joint team of the Advanced Institute of Convergence Technology and Seoul National University Hospital confirmed through the tests that the main ingredient in chocolate, helped ease wrinkles caused by ultraviolet light by controlling the genes associated with skin aging. The team stressed that the chocolate used in the tests was not in commercially available forms containing sugar or coloring, but pure cacao substance. The study findings have been published in the January edition of the American Journal of Nutrition and the May edition of the Journal of Investigative Dermatology.
Some hypertension patients have a hard time keeping their blood pressure under control, even while taking more than 4 kinds of medication. Korean researchers have become the world's first to successfully use Botox in treating hard-to-cure hypertension.
This man in his 20s takes 6 kinds of medicines daily to treat high blood pressure, but to no avail. Researchers from the Seoul St. Mary's Hospital inserted a needle into his back to find a cluster of sympathetic nerves in front of his spine. They then administered Botox, which is usually used to smooth out facial wrinkles. After administering Botox, the patient's blood pressure fell from 180 to 139. Botox has been found to suppress hormones that raise blood pressure by blocking sympathetic nerves using its anesthetizing effect.
교감신경이 흔히 항진되면 혈압이 올라가는 효과가 있기 때문에 그런 교감신경 전달 물질 분비를 떨어뜨리게 되면 혈압이 일시적으로 하강하는 효과를 지니게 됩니다. 보톡스를 이용하여 이 혈압 저하 효과가 좀 오래 갈 것 같아서
After performing the procedure for 2.5 years, the researchers found that a single dose of Botox helps keep blood pressure stable for 4 to 6 months. The effectiveness of Botox in treating hard-to-cure hypertension has been proved for the first time in the world, paving the way for finding a cure.
The ripple effects of the culture sector on the economy are enormous, with each successful TV show generating nearly $1 billion. KBS and the Korea Development Bank have agreed to set up a cultural prosperity fund amounting to $100 million in a bid to further promote cultural content.
Each of the 10 episodes of the KBS TV show The Jingbiro, a memoir of Im-jin-war, which was produced last year, cost over $160,000 to produce. The cost for the entire production as a whole surpassed $9 million.
오전엔 되게 예쁘고 오후엔 겁나 예쁘죠.
Successful TV shows like Descendants of the Sun can generate enormous profits, but the content production environment continues to grow more difficult each year due to soaring production costs. To ensure a stable supply of cultural content, KBS and the Korea Development Bank have agreed to raise investment in a joint effort. KBS and the Korea Development Bank will establish the nation's first private equity fund dedicated to cultural content. Its scope will amount to roughly $100 million. The fund will be invested in the production of so-called killer content, such as large-scale TV shows produced in cooperation with overseas companies and customized content in line with the needs of local cultures.
우리나라 콘텐츠의 경제력을 강화하고 한류의 세계화를 통해서 대한민국 경제 발전에 크게 기여하도록 노력을 하겠습니다.
KBS and the Korea Development Bank plan to expand the content market not only to China and Asia, where demand for Korean cultural products is high, but to South America as well.
Flowers and cakes are synonymous with celebration. Imagine receiving the two gifts as one. Here are some flower cakes that satisfy a craving for both a delicious dessert and beautiful flowers. A colorful bouquet of flowers adorns this cake. It's like getting two presents, a cake and flowers, at the same time. The real flowers placed on the cake are sanitized before they come in contact with the cake's icing. After the cake is enjoyed, the flowers remain as a household decorative item. You've all heard about edible flowers, but here are some edible flowers in the truest sense. This is a rice cake decorated with flowers made of finely mashed kidney beans and red beans.
앙금 플라워 떡 케이크는요, 기존의 빵 케이크와 다르게 설기 위에 앙금으로 꽃을 만들어서 어우러지게 하는 케이크입니다.
First, you need a white cake made with rice flour. Add 10 tablespoons of water and 7 tablespoons of sugar to 700 grams of plain rice flour. The flour mixture should be sifted twice to remove the lumps and make it finer. Then steam the mixture over medium heat for 30 minutes. The rice cake is done when it rests for 5 more minutes. Now let's make the sweet bean frosting, which will be used to make flowers. After mashing the boiled kidney beans, mix in sugar and natural ingredients like beets and green tea for color. These natural food dyes produce beautiful colors and are healthy. The bean frosting can be used to make more than 40 different kinds of flowers. All you need to do now is craft flowers out of this mashed bean frosting to suit the occasion. Pipe out the bean mixture in the shape of the number 3 while turning the flower nail to make a carnation, which is a symbol of motherly love. Carefully pipe each layer of petals high on the nail to complete a rose blossom meaning passionate love. It's also easy to make Lisianthus, the flower representing undying love and a favorite among men who intend to propose. The bean frosting flowers are then placed on the cake to form a charming decoration. It takes about 4 hours in total to make this flower-decorated rice cake, from steaming the cake to piping out the bean frosting flowers. It's now time to sample the rice cake with bean icing flowers.
보기에도 예쁜데 백설기랑 앙금하고 잘 어울려서 너무 깜짝 놀랐어요. 너무 맛있어요.
Show your loved ones how much you care with these flower-decorated cakes, which are pleasing to your eyes and palate. Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.